The Lord has been putting on my heart what to talk about, and man, does it match the theme, both from the Holy Note and from the Power Word and just the general theme for this month. Um, I felt as if I should talk more, be a little bit more specific about some struggles that we've had in my family with my daughter Emily. During the retreat, I believe it was the last morning that we were there, we did an exercise where we were sitting in the circle and we were all to speak something that we were fearful of or something that we were struggling with. I forget exactly what the name of that enrichment activity was, but um and I mentioned a situation with my daughter Emily, and I kind of wanted to elaborate a little bit more about that situation. The year of 2010, I call it the year from hell. Sorry, Lord, but HE double toothpicks. Um, uh, Not only was my mother dying that year, she became ill in December of 2009, from getting a pacemaker put in, and then just had a series of infections and really bad things happen. Over 9 months, she finally died in August. Before that, she was this vibrant socialite, not socialite, but social animal, whatever person. But also at the same time, my daughter Emily decided to rip our family apart. Um, Emily there's always been something with Emily from her birth. Um, I can remember being her just being a week home from the hospital, and my mother was here, helping me out. She's staying with me for a couple of weeks, and I was nursing her. I was sitting in the chair, actually in this room over in the other corner, and my mother was on the couch where I am, and I was nursing her, and she was fine with nursing, but a week old took her little hand and put her hand between my breasts and pushed herself away to the point, I mean, she literally was stiff with her head back, pushing, and I was so shocked, and I looked at my mother and I said, "Mom, look at her. She's rejecting me." And my mother's like, "She's not rejecting you. Don't be ridiculous, whatever, in a loving way, whatever." But she said it. I don't know if she was rejecting me, but I just distinctly remember, and when she was 3, at preschool, the we got the first inkling that there was something going on. The beautiful, wonderful lead teacher at a preschool at our church, when we went to parent teacher conference at 3 years old, said she's a dump and runner. You have all the different stations at the preschool, and she would go to one station and just throw everything around and then run to the next one and throw everything around and run to the next one, throw everything around. Dump and runner. She called it the dump and runner. And she said, I think she might have ADD. Okay, fine. Wow. So in first grade, she had issues in first grade, and we did take her to be tested. There was some things that were happening there. It was very sad. Her teachers just didn't like her, and I can't say that I blame them. She was a pain in the butt, just all over the place. And the teachers just that's what broke my heart the most. But we did take her to be tested, and she was diagnosed. And again, we know this is not a perfect science, but she was diagnosed with what's called NLD, nonverbal learning disability. So there's some social aspects to that, not being able to pick up on facial cues, and socially awkward, that type of stuff. And then later on, she we did finally have her tested, in fifth grade. She had a horrible situation with her teacher. Her teacher hated her. There were people that overheard conversations that told me that from the teacher saying these horrible things about my daughter. I can't say that I blame her, but it just broke my heart. So we did have further testing, and then she was diagnosed with ADHD. In our school system, fifth and sixth grade was at a different school. So she was kindergarten through third in one school, and then fourth and fifth in another school, and then sixth, seventh, and eighth was middle school. So between fifth grade and sixth grade, she was changing schools, and we did put her on medication, and it was like a light bulb. We had a perfect, perfect child, perfect child. Academically, off the charts, super smart, straight A's, no problem, reading, math, music, anything she did, she excelled in. Sports, anything she did, she excelled in. It was behavioral were the issue. So we put her on the medication, and she became a perfect child. She was on made the honor society. She was on the swim team. She had friends. That was another issue. She had friends. Um, some friends I'm not too crazy about, but whatever. Um, Perfect child. The I remember going to parent teacher conference in sixth grade, walking in, preparing myself, hyperventilating, oh my gosh, whatever. And I walked in, and there was a panel of three teachers, and they looked at me and they said, "Oh, you're Emily's mother. We love Emily. She's you don't even have to be here." And I was like, "What?" I couldn't get out of there fast enough because the tears were just welling up inside of me. I cannot believe that they're talking about my child in this way, in such a perfect way, that was a great kid. Those 3 years were phenomenal. Medication though, so not so great, but whatever. Um, so that summer we always went on vacation last week of July, first week of August, and we also took her off the medication during the summers. So she really started, and this is that adolescent, between eighth grade and freshman year, starting, was on vacation. It was horrible. And I hadn't brought the medication, but I did say to her, when we were finishing up vacation, I said, we got to start thinking about, getting you back on the medication again before school. And she goes, "I'm not going to go back on it." Okay, so we figured out a plan. Okay, you don't have to go back on it. We'll do this on a trial basis. We'll figure out, behavior wise, here's what you need to, follow these rules, etc. It was a nightmare. It was just an absolute nightmare. There was horrible, horrible things happened. Fast forward to 2010, January. I was working late. I worked at the time about an hour and 10 minutes away. And it was about 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the evening, and my cell phone rings, and it's Bill, my husband, and he says, I could tell he's all upset. Emily almost killed Kylie. So what do you mean she almost killed Kylie? Now there had been that the stuff that was happening in the house, there was violence, and it was escalating. Stealing, lying, verbal abuse, physical abuse, um, uh, things getting wrecked in the house, furniture being broken, carving initials and wood furniture, ripping things. There wasn't anything in the house. If you walked into my house at that time, there was nothing that wasn't touched by Emily's destructive behavior. So it was escalating, and this is what brought it to the peak. Thankfully, the peak, but it was horrible. Um, she got in a fight with Kylie, her younger sister, and got a knife and chased her through the house and got her down on the kitchen floor and jumped on top of her and had the knife in her hand and was getting ready to stab her. And Bill was able to catch her and pull her off. So I'm like, "Bill, what are you doing?" A window was broken too. I mean, all kinds of stuff. He's like, he's a father of two girls. Just whatever. Um, you have to call 911. You have to call 911. And he hesitated, he hesitated. Finally, I got him to do it. I get in the car and I start driving. Here I am driving an hour and 10 minutes. I think I got home in like 40 minutes on I-95 in Connecticut. I get home, the police were here. There was an ambulance here. The police kind of made me angry because they kind of tried to talk us out of doing something about this situation, but I did finally explain to them that this is not the first experience. We've had some of this stuff going on. So what ended up happening was they, and any of you, and I know that there's women here in this group that have had issues, that have and have had issues with their children, but driving behind your daughter in the back seat of your daughter's in the back seat. My daughter was in the back seat of the police car, and we were driving behind the police car to Yale Hospital to the emergency room to get her a psych evaluation. And at this point, I think it was maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. We get to the hospital. They separated us. They interviewed her. They spoke to her. They spoke to us what happened, explain what's going on. Um, and thankfully, and there, this is where the Lord comes in. And sometimes we don't see the Lord. And in this situation, and we were so, our hearts were pounding in our heads, our brains were pounding. We couldn't think straight, but the Lord was there. And they said to her, Emily, do you feel safe going home? And she said no. So because she was 15 at the time, or 14 or 15, we she did decide to go to Yale Psychiatric Hospital, which she coined the phrase the wacky shack. I, it's like, this was Emily, okay? So they took her to Yale Psychiatric Hospital. Again, they put her in the back of the police car. She's in the back seat. We follow a couple of blocks over to the Yale Psychiatric Hospital. It was just like a movie where the gates open up. The police car goes in, we go in into this back alley, and there's a staircase and a door, just plain and simple. And as we pulled in, the door opens up, and there's someone in a white coat waiting for us. And we walk in, and we delivering our beautiful baby girl to this hospital. Um, ended up they wanted her to go home the next day, and I when we went to talk to them and they heard the rest of the story, they said no, we'll keep her for a couple of days. So she was there for 4 days, um because I think we made that decision to take it that far. It was a catalyst to starting things to get better. Not perfect, still not perfect today. Um, Still have issues with her today. She's 31. She just celebrated her 31st birthday on the 18th. Um, but she's since been diagnosed. Well, not really diagnosed. She kind of diagnosed herself. She's on the spectrum. She used to be called Asperger's, but she definitely is on the spectrum, and there is maybe some bipolar there as well. So she has all this comorbid stuff. So it's not perfect, but it did get better. When she was about 26, 27 years old, she calmed down. She finally did calm down. She was off medication for a long time. She's back on medication now. She's got anxiety issues, um, social anxiety issues and stuff. But the Lord was there, and I guess the one message that I wanted to share, and I know that you all know this, you can't always feel the Lord with you in the midst of the fear, of the anxiety, of the heartache. I mean, there were times, it was dark. There were times where we thought that she was going to kill us. She's going to burn the house down. I used to tell my girlfriend, if the house burns down and we're all dead and Emily's the only survivor, you got to suspect that she did this, because we really thought, I mean, we would sleep with a baseball bat. It was horrible. Um, but the Lord, looking back now, I can't say that I necessarily saw it then, but I know now that the Lord was there, because the prayer was a huge part of what got us through, what was, it allowed us to sleep at night. Sometimes I would sleep with my hand. I had a Bible. I had one of those headboards. I don't have it anymore, but I had one of those headboards. It's bookcase headboards, and I had the Bible. And sometimes I would sleep with just my hand on the Bible. Um, so the Lord did get us through that. Um, and now, and Cal Heal's been very, very helpful with me for this too. When I am in a situation now, fearful situation, anxiety, whatever, I can feel that the Lord, and I can trust that the Lord is there. And Lene, I think that you were talking about trust, and a couple of the people were talking about trust. Proverbs 3:6, trust in the Lord, trust in the Lord, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Um, that is something, thankfully, by knowing all of you beautiful women and spending time with you and being able to share and trust with each other, that I can feel that now in difficult times. And I wish and I pray that um, for all of you, we can get through it in the midst of the storm. Um, so, amen. Praise Jesus.